afternoon, Mr. Chair, fellow members of the Environment and Transportation Committee. Delegate Michelle Guyton here today to ask for a favorable report on House Bill 452. Now, this is a really fun bill. I do have a picture to pass around to keep your interest during this presentation. This is my dog, Pearl, which many of you have met over the years and hung out in the office and been part of our subcommittees. And this bill is inspired by her journey as well as other animals in Maryland. So this bill is brought to you on behalf of Pearl and also on behalf of the Maryland Veterinary Medical Association. All it does is it prohibits the Board of Veterinary Medicine from suspending or revoking a license, reprimanding or censuring a veterinarian solely on the basis of discussing or recommending the use of cannabis for animal health or therapy. So our laws, as you know, currently have a modernized medical cannabis for human use as of 12 years ago. In 2023, we also legalized recreational use for humans. We're not suggesting that for animal friends. However, the laws surrounding therapeutic use in animals are way behind. Cannabis really does show remarkable therapeutic value for many veterinary ailments, and that's why I have a picture of our friend Pearl here. Pearl has a very severe seizure disorder. She also she's very clumsy. She has accidents all the time. So this is Pearl in a code of shame. She knows her vets well. And she's been on high dosages of anticonvulsive medications that are considered really high risk in humans. They lead to anxiety, irritation, put her in a bad mood, but more importantly, lead to organ failure. So this is something that we're always watching out for. So they're also incredibly costly, not covered by any insurance, and they're not always successful. So nobody in any of her very costly and high-priced canine neurologists or many of her OR veterinary stays overnight have ever suggested to me that it might be possible to use cannabis for these problems, and that as a potential treatment, it actually demonstrates up to 89% reduction in seizure activities on dogs like Pearl without changing behavior, without the negative side effects, and without affecting and shutting down her liver or her kidneys. So I would prefer to be able to have a conversation with my canine neurologist for my puppy before I go to the store and I buy cannabis for my animal. I would like to be able to have the conversation with somebody that I know cares about her, understands her problems, and someone that I trust to give me opinion. Right now, if I ask my vet to have this conversation with me, they cannot do so. They can't talk about whether they think it's a good idea, a bad idea. They can't recommend dosages. They are disallowed to have this conversation, or they could be disciplined by the board. This bill changes that. It allows them to do that, and I hope that this bill passed so that I can have more guidance for Pearl, and that the vets will have more flexibility to provide the care that their animal patients need. I want to just bring your attention to the fact that there is no opposition to this bill. There is no fiscal note on this bill. And there is a very sweet letter about a cat named Reverend Bobcat Goldthwait in your, and I think you should take time to read that, because the writer of that letter believes that this bill might have saved Reverend Bobcat's life. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Hello, I wanted to say thank you, Chairman and Delegate Guyton, for giving me this opportunity today. I am Dr. Ashley Nichols, a practicing small animal veterinarian, and I am asking a favorable vote for HB 452, as it would allow veterinarians to counsel our clients on cannabinoid products. In practice, I frequently have clients asking for advice on products, often CBD products. However, under the professionalism standards outlined in the State Veterinary Practice Act, discussion is a violation and grounds for discipline. While the policy is designed to be aligned with federal laws, it is outdated. And veterinarians are inherently rule followers, as As such, we are not willing to risk our license to discuss these products. This lack of discussion ultimately puts patients at risk rather than protecting them. As a veterinarian, we partner with our clients to guide and educate them on care for their animals. This includes discussion on the risks versus benefits, including what products and ingredients to avoid as they are harmful. This is often frequently done for other over-the-counter products such as Benadryl. But without our advice, clients are left to their own research, leaving them to misguided information from influencers or lay people. This poses an additional risk as clients often become afraid to reach out or inform the veterinary team when they have gone and purchased a product and their animal has had an issue with that. This limits our ability to treat them, and it also reduces the reporting of reactions for these products and therefore limits the ability to take them off the market. So for all of these reasons, I ask for a favorable vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is Jackie Cohen-Roth here as well?
Yes.
We'll just go ahead and then we can take questions.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Corman, Vice Chair Guyton. Thank you for your work on this, and members of the committee. I'm Jackie Cohen-Roth. I have a Master's of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, where I'm also a faculty member with a focus on cannabis policy and law. I also am an entrepreneur, MBE, SBE, DBE of Cannabis MD, a nonprofit, the TPAD Foundation, and lastly, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Education for Canna Workforce, Inc., which is the first state-funded cannabis workforce development program here in Maryland and in the country. I strongly support HB 452 and urge a favorable report with amendments. Right now, Maryland veterinarians face an impossible choice, staying silent when pet owners ask about cannabis products, CBD, which is federally legal, or THC, which is federally illegal, but legal here in Maryland, or risk losing their license. Their silence is dangerous. There's a critical piece of cannabis science I like to share, so geek out a little bit, where all mammals, dogs, humans, cats, etc., have an endocannabinoid system. This is a system in the body, every body of a mammal, that regulates pain, appetite, mood, sleep, immune function, and more. This works with receptors throughout the body. For example, dogs and cats have a uniquely high number of CB1 receptors in their brain, particularly the cerebellum. And these are sites in the brain where THC and other cannabinoids attach. Think of these like a baseball fitting into a glove or a key fitting into a lock. And this makes our animals, our pet animals, especially vulnerable to THC toxicity. When veterinarians cannot discuss with pet owners about the difference between human cannabis products and appropriate animal products, the pets are likely to get poisoned. There's a particular word that I recommend, or I suggest here, is removing the word recommending, which has specific use in Maryland's cannabis program, and replace that, changing line 13 with changing it from discussing or recommending to discussing, educating, guiding, or advising about. And these words guide the principles of the veterinarian-client relationship, that VCPR.
Okay,
so
thank you so much for your testimony.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. A question from Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate, first of all, thank you for the bill. I think this is a great bill. I think it's much needed. I wish we would have done this a couple years ago. So I want to start off with that. I would love to, if you would mind maybe addressing that favorable amendment testimony there that we just heard about. I think, you've got some thoughts about it. I would love to give you the opportunity, if you could, to just discuss that for a moment.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But to be honest, I saw that for the first time this morning when I opened the file. So we have not had a conversation about it. And I don't believe that this was presented at the Senate hearing either. Is that accurate?
No. Yeah,
so
you
don't have to answer.
Yep.
But that's my understanding after checking with the Senate sponsor, and that bill's already been heard on that side. So this isn't something that I've really had a chance to review. I did look over some of the suggestions while we were having our hearing, to be honest, and it looks like the primary concern is using the word recommending, but at the same time, the other states that have changed this law have all used the word recommending. So I feel like that's something that we should keep consistent in this state as well. So thank you, and I'm happy to speak offline about this, but I wasn't prepared to respond to those today.
Well, sorry, Doug, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Well, then I will ask this question. So just so we're all on the same page, which I know you and I are on the same page with this, but you're not talking about just sort of unlimited amounts of THC or anything like that. We all recognize that, strong amounts of THC can pose health consequences to various types of pets. You're talking about low THC products like CBD or something that may be hemp derived here. Isn't that so?
Yeah, no, Delegate, that's the point of this right now, because I wouldn't know what to go to the store and buy my pet. I would go and say what's great for seizures and assume that what's good for humans would also possibly be good for dogs. But what I need to do to make sure that I'm not poisoning her is to talk to one of our veterinarian friends. So do you want to talk about how important that is?
It's really important. And right now, with the way it is, I can't even say that there's no FDA approved products for animals or regulated products for animals. So I can't even caution owners against this. Unlike I could, those of you who have pets, a veterinarian will be like, yeah, you can go get Benadryl. It just can't have this ingredient or this flavor. I can't do any of that to help protect them. Or even say, hey, you're on X, Y, and Z medications, THC, and these medications are a no-go. And so what this would allow is for that, and I'm hoping if they were to go out against advice, they'd be comfortable enough to come back versus just hearing that, oh, the veterinarians can't do anything about this. Now my pet's having a reaction. What do I do? Because I feel like I can't go to the veterinarian now.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. That concludes the bill hearing on House Bill 452.